Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome everyone who's listening to this back on YouTube or Zoom to Miracle. So today's lesson we're going to go through is lesson 49. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. So last week we did lesson 47 and today's 49. Being guided, which lessons to do. So this purpose of these Satsang meditations is to, if you're finding it difficult to do these lessons on your own, you're most welcome to do them with the group. But remember, don't be attached to anything. Just use it to be helpful. So you don't need this group and you don't need me to go through it. But if it's helpful, then it's fine. All right? So that's it. Just remember, you can do this on your own, and hopefully going through these lessons in the group will help strengthen your dedication and commitment to doing them more on your own. But definitely joining in can be very helpful. It is a helpful way in saying that, yes, others are interested in this teaching, because the ego is very fearful and will tell you that all these terrible things will go wrong, or, things will go wrong if you continue down the track of letting it go. So we're moving from one thought system to another, but the other thought system, they're thoughts that correct our misperceptions. But eventually they leave because they're all correcting something that never was, but seems to be for us. So today's lesson, God's voice speaks to me all through the day. So Shannon and I will read these paragraphs out and just share what's coming through. It is quite possible to listen to God's voice all through the day without interrupting your regular activities in any way. And let's just think about that sentence. So think about the day today, where you were, all the things you did today. Or if you're in the morning, you could think about yesterday. Think about all the things, all the people you spoke to, all the places you went. Even if you stayed home, you might have done some things or messaged or called some people. And think about what would it be like if I was listening to God's voice all through the day and there was no interruption. And this really links into that lesson that we had last week, where he said, he will come and help us in every situation. We have to really, this idea that we can go about what we call our lives and have this streaming of guidance constantly in our mind, which is what I have and what Shannon has. It's a streaming. And it's actually really beautiful. It's like there's a deep peace, a deep abiding peace. There's a feeling of beautiful love within, and seeing without, everything is love. And then there's just directions when you need it. So it's you get to the stage where you don't really need to put the Holy Spirit in charge of your day. because it already is. It's the default. And it's lovely. It's quiet, it's tranquil, peaceful, full of love. And it just basically has no ego thoughts. So it's so nice. It really is. That's why I would say to anyone, give over your whole dedication and commitment to undoing this ego mind, because you've got no idea how lovely it is to be without the ego thought system. It's so beautiful. It's just so quiet. So your mind is just completely quiet. There's no ego. And all you're hearing is God's voice, but it's not like it's talking to you all day long. It's just guiding you when you need to, where to go and what to say, really. So it's quite possible to listen to God's voice all through the day without interrupting your regular activities. So, you can cook meals, do your laundry washing, go for walks, go to the gym, go for a swim, go for a bike ride, go for a run. And they're your regular activities. Go to your job. The part of your mind in which truth abides is in constant communication with God, whether you are aware of it or not. So the part of your mind in which truth abides, so there's part of our mind that's in constant communication with God. So God is perfect love without an opposite. It's just an essence of perfect love, like perfect peace without an opposite. And then there's sort of like an echo or a voice for God that's in our mind. First of all, that voice will correct us. That's the voice for God, the Holy Spirit or Jesus, that corrects our misperceptions. But it will also guide you what to say and do. So sort of two functions. It is the other part of your mind that functions in the world and obeys the world's laws. It is this part that is constantly distracted, disorganised, and highly uncertain. And that highly uncertain, remember last week we were talking about how if you're trying to decide by yourself and think with the ego, you become apprehensive and nothing works out. And now he's sort of saying disorganised. So start to see that's where we're at when we're trying to figure stuff out for ourselves, which is really just asking the ego for help. So we've got two parts to our mind here, and he's just reminding us that we can listen to the voice for God and have no interruptions while we go about our day. Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, Cate. Yeah, it's funny because the regular activities that he talks about in the first paragraph, without interrupting your regular activities in any way. So the regular activities become much lighter. There isn't any kind of proving yourself or trying to be something or, trying to compare yourself to others like Cate was talking about at the beginning. So the regular activities are light and free, and there's just so much joy in them. And so we're not bogged down by this idea that it's me against the world and I've got to do all these things. And I mean, even at work, I remember as I was forgiving and more and more and more, I had a corporate job, but it didn't matter to me. The corporate ladder meant nothing to me. I was just there to bless everyone in that office every day. And that was my priority. So all of the tasks that I had to do were just inspired. They just happened. It wasn't like I was trying or striving. And that's the kind of freedom that we can have in every moment. And we can hear his voice all through the day. And what a gift, right? What a beautiful gift. The part that is listening to the voice for God is calm, always at rest, and wholly certain. And that's it. I mean, it's that part that isn't trying to be anything. It knows what it is. And it is calm, at rest, and wholly certain. It is really the only part there is. Well, that's what I just said, but the other part is a wild illusion, frantic and distraught, but without reality of any kind. Try today not to listen to it. Try to identify with the part of your mind where stillness and peace reign forever. Try to hear God's voice call to you lovingly, reminding you that your Creator has not forgotten his Son. And the way that we do that, I know that it's kind of, when we're caught up in ego thoughts and ideas and we're trying to be something and do something and be this for that person and be this for this person, we get caught up in that ego thought system and we think it's us. We think that these thoughts are actually things that we're having and that are us. But we step back, and it's in the stepping back behind those thoughts where we can see that they're silly, and then we step back further, and then we're just laughing at them, and then we step back to the point where they're not even in our awareness anymore. They're just not there to distract us at all. And that's kind of the progression, and we can do it. We can step back and not engage in them. Okay, Kate.
Thanks, Shannon. We will try actually to hear God's voice, reminding you of him and of yourself. We will approach this happiest and holiest of thoughts with confidence, knowing that in doing so, we are joining our will with the will of God. He wants you to hear his voice. He gave it to you to be heard. So it's really difficult. It's impossible nearly to do this, to come to God on your own. You really need the help. You really need to rely on this inner voice to help us. The fear that the ego brings up, and the ego's got lots to say, it's just more and more nothing thoughts, right? They're all nothing, but it will, it'll bring thoughts of, about death, something to do with suffering and death. If you listen to God's voice all the time, it's, I've spoken to many people about this. It's sort of like, it's the death of the ego, and it wants to fight for its life. So we really need to practice this going within, and you will know, you will have, nothing will go wrong. You'll be looked after. You'll know where to go and what to do. In fact, it's so much better than anything the ego can offer. It's sort of like, I remember once, it was shown to me that, like, if you got a big piece of paper like this, it's like this tiny little corner of the paper. It's like, that's what the ego is offering you, and that's what, everything is offered to you by the Holy Spirit. But that's what we're hanging on to. So like this tiny little scrap of edge of the paper, that's what we're idolizing. We're saying, no, this is the world. This is, we're just idolizing everything here, our body, our lives, our families, And I think one of the hardest thing is about thinking, well, my children aren't really my children and my parents aren't really my parents. But if you can take that and have it transferred into they're my holy brothers, that's a really good way to transition, because the ego will say you'll lose all these lovely relationships. So if you see everyone as your holy brother, you don't need to leave relationships. You don't need to leave anyone. He will transform your mind into holy love. So this is why we will approach this happiest and holiest of thoughts with confidence, knowing that in doing so, we are joining our will with the will of God. He wants you to hear his voice. So have no fear about hearing the voice of God all day long, directing you, loving you, blessing you, showing you how beautiful you are, how holy you are, how innocent you are. And for me, that was when I came to Jesus in that beautiful visualization and meditation, where he just like looked at me and I saw myself through his eyes. And that's when I was healed, because my mind was the first time I experienced this purity of love that saw me as infinite, beautiful, divine love. And so we really need to take the hand of Jesus or the Holy Spirit, because the love and the wisdom that goes with it take us. We will choose that over the ego's meager offerings, and also the ego's fear of what will happen if you take Jesus's hand or go with the Holy Spirit. So that's the fear that comes up. And so we have to continually turn to Jesus and hold his hand and bring him into our mind and say, show me how I am this perfect love. Heal my belief of sin, that I'm a body. He will show you, he will correct all the errors that we're now living in. So you can use this 40-minute period for anything that you feel as we go through this lesson. Anything that you would like to do, just let your mind, free your mind, and let that answer or let your question, you can ask. I used to say, show me how this is, show me this, show me that, really wanting to know. And that would be shown, but I never knew how it was going to be shown to me. But it always came in some way, to really lift me up and correct my perception. And very gently we are awakened. So Shannon's going to go through the next paragraph, the next two paragraphs are going to go through what we're going to do, but we'll read them and then I'll give you some instruction. I'll repeat some lines as we go into the meditation. So thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, Cate. Listen in deep silence. Be very still and open your mind. Go past all the raucous shrieks and sick imaginings that cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with God. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you beyond the frantic, riotous thoughts and sights and sounds of this insane world. You do not live here. We are trying to reach your real home. We are trying to reach the place where you are truly welcome. We are trying to reach God.
Do not forget to repeat today's idea very frequently. Now you can repeat it during that 40-minute meditation, if you like. You can do so with your eyes open when necessary, but closed when possible. So maybe keep your eyes closed during the meditation. And be sure to sit quietly and repeat the idea for today whenever you can, closing your eyes on the world and realizing that you are inviting God's voice to speak to you. So God's voice can sometimes sound like a voice. It can be a picture in your mind. It can be many things. You might call it like an impression, intuition. It's very hard to put a word to it. But one thing about this, if you really deeply desire to hear the Holy Spirit, you will. Just give all your fear of hearing him over, because he will never, the Holy Spirit never judges you. There's no judgment in Jesus or the Holy Spirit in our minds. There's no judgment. They just come in to bring the truth into our minds and to tell us how beautiful and divine we are and to correct our perceptions. So you don't, if you have any fear about what you might hear, you can give over that fear and just say, I let go of this fear. So let's give this a go now. I'll just lead you into the 40-minute meditation. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to listen in deep silence. We're going to be very still and open our minds. And we're going to go past all the raucous shrieks and sick imaginings that cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with God. So we're going to, if the ego thoughts come in, we're going to go past them. We're just going to pass them by, sink deep into the peace. So we're going in our minds, we're going to sink below all those thoughts. Now it might take you a few minutes, even if it takes you half an hour, just keep at it. Just notice the thought and let it go. Just watch it like a procession through your mind. Do not be interested in it. Sink below it. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you, beyond the frantic, riotous thoughts, sights and sounds of this insane world. So we're going to let the world go. We're just going to say, I let the world go. For the next 40 minutes, I'm just going to sink in and rest in God, rest in this peace. And Holy Spirit, if I need to hear anything that you need me to know, I open up this 40-minute period for you to bring me maybe something that I need to know. If not, I will just rest. So here we go. Okay. Very gently and quietly allow your mind to come back. I hope that you either had some experience of deep peace or you had some wisdom. They're hard to say exactly what they are. Sometimes I call them realizations. Might have had some sort of experience. This is really good to give over this time, this sort of 40 minutes of what we call time, to sink really deeply beneath the bubbling ego thoughts of the mind. The more you practice this, the quicker it is to get below them. What this also does in this really quiet part of our mind is the more you can quieten your mind, the more you'll be able to hear the Holy Spirit guiding you. So it's interesting, like lesson 47, God is the strength in which I trust, and God's voice speaks to me all through the day. It's just interesting that he gets us to go beneath the egoic mind, the little thoughts, and sink down as the way to help us to come to trust in that voice. So he said we are inviting God's voice to speak to us as we do it. So this is really important to be realised, that this is the way we can get more and more access to that inner guide by really giving over some time for just sinking below those thoughts. That's all he asks us to do. Just let our mind sink. I like that word sink down, because it's really like that, isn't it? It's like I had a picture one day in my mind of the ocean, and all the little waves on the ocean, and just dropping right down, like right down quite deep, and sort of sitting on the bottom of the ocean floor, just feeling this deep peace, this complete silence down there. It was so deep, so beautiful. So it doesn't matter what little visualization you might be given about sinking deeply. Everybody gets their own little way, little ideas, and that's for you. That's because it's your way. That's something helpful for you. So I haven't really got anything to add to the end of this meditation. It feels like the instructions are really just to continue when you have time, just doing this, dropping deeply, and just giving it over to the Holy Spirit or Jesus. Just saying, use this for your purposes. Just like everything, we give over everything for his purpose. Shannon, were you feeling to say anything? for the end of this meditation, Satsang?
No, I feel complete, Cate. So peaceful.
Okay. So what I think, we'll just do a short experiential, won't take long, just practicing once again, feeling this being filled up with God's love. It's been really like, imagine, I mean, we're going to use the picture of the body, but this is just something that can be helpful. And just imagine that your whole body's full of love. It's not full of veins or organs and things like that. It's just a vessel of love. So just imagine that all that's in you is love. And that love is going out from you and enveloping everyone. So however that feels, or that visualization, or whatever that experience is, to start with, let's just envelop everyone in the group. Just feel this love coming out and enveloping everyone, blessing everyone. See everyone smile as they say thank you. Thank you for that love. You could maybe imagine us all standing together with our arms around each other in a big circle and looking around the circle in silence, just smiles on our face, just extending this love. Just feel all the others' minds extending love to you. I feel like lifted up by the beautiful love that's coming towards you and enveloping you. And then just maybe feel the power of the group's love. And that love going out all around the world and enveloping everyone and everything. If you want to see it as a white light or a gentle light, where there's nothing but light, or just love, it's trying to get our mind to get into abstraction. These little visualizations are really helpful in terms of help us to get into another mind where it's more abstract. So just see this love blessing everyone. It smiles on everyone. It says, you are my holy brother. You are the Christ. So am I. We're all one. It's just love. Nothing else but love. We're all dancing and singing in this love. I see a smile on your face. I feel a freedom. No cares, no worries. There's nothing to forgive because we're all there. Doesn't matter if you see bodies as part of that. Don't try to make yourself wrong. If you're seeing each other as bodies, just let this feeling of freedom and love and joy and extension be your focus. It's an all-encompassing love. It's God's love. And when we become part of that, part of God, because God is love, and so am I. And there may be an experience of just not being a self, a separate self. If you're identifying as love, where is the separate self? You might see that that separate self is made by thought, and without thought, it's not there. It's just love. So let this love feel like it's coming out of every pore of you, every pore of your body. It's just surrounding you and blessing and loving. It's really hard to come back from that once you're up there. That's sort of, it's like that love then leads you into the song of prayer, the song of love, where you will hear God's song, the song of God. It's so hard because I'm using words and it's beyond words. But if you do these little exercises, especially after a 40-minute deepening, you can probably access it. And that's it. You'll have the experience of being love, joined with love, feeling very playful, feeling like vast and free. And if you haven't had that experience, just keep at it. It will come. It's really letting go of anything of the world that you value. That's how you get into it quicker. We need to see that there's nothing here to value because it all turns to dust. It's a dream of dust. But we are real. Who we are, this experience of love and light, the vast, beautiful, gorgeous love is who we are. And that's why the experience is what comes in to show us who we are. So don't worry about arguing about the words of the Course. Don't ever argue or debate about it. Go straight for the experience. Let go of everything here and just dive deeply, sink deeply into this love. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Thank you, Shannon. I thought I wasn't getting anything to do, but I did. Thank you. I love you and I bless you and I honour you. I see only your holiness. I see only your purity, your divinity. I'm not interested in looking at your body because that's not you. I know who you are. So thank you. Love and blessings. Have a beautiful week. See you next week.